Shakti. Grand evening instead of grand rising. We're not descending. It's just a different phase of the day, right? So I hope you are all having a wonderful start to your couple days off. We're not going to call it a weekend. You know why? Because weak means weak. You know, like weak, not strong. Weekend, weak, meaning you're not strong. Like these spell casting, the words we choose is so important. So if you're new here, my name is Lana Labonte, and welcome to my living room. I have just freshly showered and washed my hair because I needed to. I am here to uplift, support. Hopefully that inspires you and empowers you to be the best version of you you are here and meant to be. And I say that because you need to just be. Like, literally, it's a bee. The bees will tell you. They are the hum of the universe. Yes, weak, not strong, and coming to an end. I was reminded because I was watching a video earlier when I took a walk about the Maritime Admiralty law stuff and how all the languaging used to keep us in this trance, uninformed, ignorant, even the to say you're an adult says you're adult. Do you know what DOLT, adult, is adult? Meaning not educated, not smart. Like really, it's insulting when you start to really break down words, which is why, boy, oh boy, did my mama, she taught me, be clear and concise with your words and mean what you say and say what you mean. And that if you listen to the words of a person, a lot of times what they say is one thing, but you got to watch their actions and see, are they in alignment? Are they truly in integrity with themselves? Because people tell on themselves even without saying a word. Often what is not said is louder than what is said. Keep that in mind. And that's just, I'm saying that for us to check ourselves. Like I'm constantly having to check myself, like, am I being authentic? Am I being my best version? Like I've been in my own little bubble like lately because I'm working on some really powerful, very exciting things. I'm having fun. I'm creating again. I feel like I'm finally coming back and reclaiming my mojo that has been, over these past years, felt like it was sucked out of me. And sometimes we have to, like the phoenix, rise from the ashes. Be reborn, rebirth. This has been a very long-ass rebirthing. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You know, this cat's lived many lives, and if you've followed me long enough, you've heard me say that. So, I thought I saw a bruise. Yeah. In fact, that looked like a bruise too. I had an amazing neuromuscular therapy session today, and yesterday I had acupuncture with my girly, and I am just so much better off than I was. So much better. I'm writing, I'm creating. So there she is. Hi, Val. And so, you know, we are here to birth, whether it's physically manifesting a child out of our womb, man, or, you know, and I'm saying this, the man gives you the seed and we carry it, or we're going to birth something else. So we have a purpose. It's not just based on anybody else's determination either. So I have also been working on my express trust, and it's really fascinating because you start to learn about, and I already knew about the money thing, like money is a promissory note, which means it's a debt. So a lot of us are working our asses off to receive a debt. Put that in your mind and like just sit in that one for a while. Like it's crazy. So we're indebted, we're indentured servants. And the craziest part is that what we do for work is an exchange. And we have voluntarily decided, oh, well, I'll pay taxes on my value because you're accepting that basically what you're giving away is a taxation on your being. That is not who you are. In fact, if anything, that's not even income. That's reimbursement. What you get paid for is paid for your time, your energy, your services. So that's not technically a profit, which is assuming that the whole purpose of the taxation system was to take a portion of your profits. You're not making a profit when you're making a wage, when you're working. You're giving to receive. That's an equal exchange, or should be. So any type of taxation renders it not equal, unequal. So it's not proper. You get what I'm saying? Oh, and that's the other thing. To get a background search, well, you know what? You're voluntarily allowing that. I had to have one when I was in the military. But the drug test, that's the kicker. That's the one that blows my mind, because I'm like, so I have to voluntarily give up my bodily fluids as a condition of working for you. No, not anymore. Because again, that's how deep this goes. So I put a link in the comments, or in the description, to the Freedom People, who is who I am working with. And I'm excited because I'm going to start my own private ministerial association, which is it's basically a private membership. And we'll talk more about that as we get closer to it. But essentially, instead of, you are tax exempt when you're private, because we're mano a mano, man to man, woman to woman. We don't need an intermediary, which is all this is. The world we're living in is basically a bunch of handout, greasy palms, like, I'm your intermediary. I didn't choose you. I don't have to. You got to reclaim that and take it back. But here's the thing. If you've been following me long enough, you got to be right with yourself first, because this is a change in life and lifestyle. What is the first thing they do when you watch the news? They'll turn around and say, so-and-so didn't pay their taxes. You don't really know the full story, but you see how blindly we have been indoctrinated into the authoritarian mentality of, like, if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to get in trouble and you're going to be punished. But yet, what is the first thing they do? They use that as a tool to think about it. For the people who are afraid of authority, now I grew up, I was always questioning authority, hasn't changed since. Got me into some, hot water and all that stuff, but that doesn't make me less of a person. You should be able to challenge, you should be able to question. And when you cannot do that, we got a problem, Houston. But essentially what they do is they set an example so that others, it's like the frogs in the boiling pot. They will pull back the other frog so that the other frog can't get out, never stopping to think about, well, if one gets out, well, maybe there's something going on here and we need to get in on this. Hi, Pamela. So they do the setting of an example, and they've done this throughout history. Look at our system. I don't even need to tell you. There's plenty of examples. When I was in the military, they used to do it all the time. Set an example with one person, and it puts everyone else in line. And then what ends up happening is you got the people policing one another. Where have we seen this happen before? In history, how many times have we seen this happen? How about that one? So they keep you in line by setting an example of another person, or pointing out that they're a criminal, they're a bad person, so you are the righteous one because you're indoctrinated into their slave system. But the truth of the matter is you really don't know why the person's not paying their taxes to a voluntary taxation system. So isn't it interesting that they still use that, because so many people have bought into the idea that there's an authoritarian tax god in the sky, that if you don't pay your taxes, you're a bad person. How crazy is that? Exactly, it's monkey behavior. You know how much I like the monkeys. They're great examples, There's no sense in nonsense, period. So, like I said, Pamela, in my description, I put the link from my affiliate link. Essentially, I'm in the process with the Freedom People. They are walking me through. It's a white glove service. You know, yes, you got to pay for it, but let me tell you what I was saying before. If you're not right with yourself, this is going to be scary as hell. Because what it is it's essentially taking personal responsibility and accountability for your living, breathing human so that you're not dead at sea, which is what they've claimed you to be. So when you go through this, it's going to bring up like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm going to get in trouble, because that's how we were trained, right? Getting all freaked out about doing the wrong thing. It's like, I have a girlfriend who constantly says things to me like, well, did you make sure you did this and did you do that regarding all of my stuff going on at my house? And I'm like, I don't invite problems. And sometimes when you go, you know what a permit is? It's permission. Why do we need permits to do work on our own homes other than a greasy palm and somebody to turn around and act like they're an authority over your home, right? We are programmed for fear in this current social experiment, let's say. So yeah, and I don't even need to describe it, but to do it yourself is, again, it's power. It's taking back your power. I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a huge wave of people doing it. I've been wanting to do this since I heard about it the first time when I was in the military, in my first enlistment in Omaha, Nebraska, when my colleague was like, yeah, I get all my Social Security and Medicare and everything back at the end of the year. I don't pay any of that. I was like, huh? So I knew about it for a very long time, but I didn't understand. And it's, of course, the way the universe works in my life. It's always served up at the exact same time when I need it. And it always comes in waves of 3. Because the day my first consultation with the Freedom People, I ran into a guy who used to come to my classes. I didn't recognize him at first, but he's like, oh, yeah, it took me 3 times of reading Cracking the Code before I realized, and I had the courage to write the letter to the IRS to exempt me from paying taxes any further. This takes it another step. This creates a trust. So when you have a trust and you become an actual nationalized sovereign being, you also still have to learn the languaging. You still have to be able to speak up for yourself. You still have to know your shit. That's what personal accountability. No, don't put that link in there because I need it to have my actual, take that out and make sure it has my full affiliate, because that didn't have the affiliate at the end, which is Lana something. Because the thing is, and here's the thing, if you sign up, you can become an affiliate too. So you're gonna, we're all helping each other. But essentially, by knowing your shit, by taking back your power, you're not paying taxes anymore. You've already saved yourself a whole lot of money. Not only that, but when you want to, you can file, if you have all the paperwork, to get direct taxes back too. Like every time you buy something, you're paying taxes on it. You've got taxed money that you're paying taxes on top of other stuff. Like, how messed up is that? Talk about the biggest fleecing of, and it's not just in the US. It's not just here in the US. It happens in Europe too. It's just another language. So we have Social Security numbers. They have fiscal codes. Interesting. So this is one of the things I've been working hard on, and I'm excited because it's like, wow, get your birth certificate double authenticated, and then you send it off and you get the state, blah, blah, blah. You get all these seals, you get all this stuff so that, you unregister from voting. Because let me just say, that's the biggest scam right there. If you ever saw the video that I made when I was stationed over in Belgium, we used to handle our own mail. And in the military, they're like, it's your right, it's your duty, it's your responsibility to vote. Voting season came around and they were just, you need to vote, even if it's absentee. But then in 2009 is when I learned, oh, they don't use your vote unless they need it. I was like, excuse me? So I'm talking about the absentee ballots. Like, we don't actually elect, we don't select. We're basically pledging loyalty to whoever they choose. And then I watched a really good video. If you don't follow Eric Dubé already, he did a really, and I already knew this, but the way he put it together with the history and the facts, that it's right there in your face, that every single president is connected to all the bloodlines, the royalty out of the UK. What is it? The mayor, I can't pronounce it right this second. But when you're like, oh, so we never seceded from the UK, from the monarchy. We were basically just kind of granted well, we're going to choose who's going to be in the line based on their bloodline. That made so much sense. This was not the reason I came on live tonight, by the way. This was not at all what I was going to talk about. But it does kind of tie in, and here's why. Because attachment doesn't necessarily mean physical things and materialism and all that. Although I will say this, and here's the biggest travesty of the spiritual community that I found. In the spiritual community, it is its own worst enemy. Oh, you should denounce money and you shouldn't want material things. And like, you've already been working on the fact that you got traumas in your past. And now you're coming into a new environment where they're telling you to basically renounce anything you ever want, wished, or desired in this life. Tell me how fucked up that shit sounds. Just saying. Yeah, the electoral college stuff never made sense to me. When I was in high school, I was like, I had a suspicion. I used to say, if nobody voted, I bet they'd still come out with an outcome. And that was me, 17 years old, saying, I don't know how the hell this shit works. I don't think it works. So it's all, again, it's all ritual. And it's there to keep you all distracted. It's no different than the Romans and the Colosseum, the lions and the entertainment. If you keep the masses entertained, they won't notice what's going on, right? The Wizard of Oz syndrome. Look over here, not over here. And then to get people to fight against themselves and amongst each other, wow, this is brilliant. These guys have done one hell of a job. I mean, the one that really gets me the most, you got a career politician who's senile as hell right now, but if you look through some of his old stuff, woo, that guy, scary shit. Some of the stuff he used to say. We're talking KKK. But when you look at this stuff, and then you hear out of the mouths of these people who are about as white as you can get, and about as old boy school as you can get, trying to tell people how they're racist. Could you get any more elite? I'm better than you. I can spot that you're a racist. I don't need somebody else to point fingers or to even tell me what that even means. I see a human, you're either a good human or a bad human. But this racist shit, that's indoctrination too. I don't believe in it. You're either a good human or you're not. Color, nobody wants to be called by a color or their heritage and what have you. I don't consider myself white. God, how disgusting is that? I'm not white, I'm not pasty. So I don't subscribe to all these labels. These labels are limitations, and they want you to feel limited. They want you to fit into your little boxes to make it easier for them to rule over you. Oh my God, don't get me started on that. We're not going to talk about that. I'm not going there. No. This is not the purpose of my show. Listen to me. I'm not on display here, but what I'm trying to impart, that the reality is it's all distractions. And the more you are glued to the news, northeast, west, the information that they want you to see, did you ever notice what is available? What are your choices? Everything is pushed to you. You don't have to think about it. But do you ever think about Who's actually putting that out there for you? Who's deciding what it is you get to choose for your life? Like, how crazy sick is that? Everything from what you eat, your fashion. You know, I do love art. I love fashion. I love all of the beauty of the world. We're all influenced in some way, shape, or form. But as we move into this attachment conversation, the idea that you can be spiritual and still have money, like, that's a poo-poo. We're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to stay small and not own our value. Now, I'm just generalizing right now, okay? I say this because of what I've witnessed and experienced around the spiritual community after, you know, seeking my tribe, my people, and I have some amazing, beautiful souls. But I've also been around a lot of people that hide out in those communities because that's how they can validate their own shame and their own bullshit. So there's all these different things that, you know, this is one of my gifts. I see through people's bullshit. They don't like it. And the only people who ever have problems with me, whether I say a word or not, are the ones who are like, oh, fuck, I can't be unseen. She sees everything. So they either smile and don't say a word, and they try to fake the funk, let's say, or they run and hide. And a lot of times they'll be the first ones to talk shit about me, which I could care less. I don't care. But it's interesting, the people that I have butted heads with. I had to call someone out a couple years ago. You know, and it hurt my heart because I actually, in my heart, was like, first off, I was one of her teachers. Second, it was somebody I saw as an equal, and I honestly believe the best in people, and they confided a lot in me, and I couldn't confide in her because she couldn't hold me. She couldn't hold the same space that I held for her. But yet she wanted to be in that leadership role. And it really sucks. And I've been around a lot of people like that, faking the funk. And I tried to point out, listen, you're acting like a dictator. You're trying to control what and how I behave when I'm here to take a class, and I'm just asking for you to see me and hold me, not point fingers out at me and tell me how I feel. Like, this is something that I am this is another one of my passions, because I had to learn the hard way. The times that I fucked up and didn't hold people properly. So I go through my experience so that I can carry that forth, to share that with others, to have that compassion, because I had to find the compassion for myself. If you can't find compassion for yourself, can't love yourself, you're not going to be able to do it for other people. Hi, TikTok dances. That's fantastic. I love it. So the world we're living in right now is aching for authenticity, integrity, your truth of who you are, not your pain of your past. Now, of course, this is the one thing I learned growing up, because I was one of those people that I was, and how many of you out there, because of your traumas, you look to bond with others, to connect with others. So what did you do? You talked about the things that were bad that happened in your life. I mean, how many of us really bonded for the right reasons all the time, you know? Like, I can say that from my childhood, that there were times when I was like, yeah, these bad things happened to me, you know, and I needed to feel seen, and I didn't know how to process it still. That's why I was still looking to connect with people the way I did it. And it wasn't a healthy way of connecting. It was, as we're younger, teenagers and in our early 20s, we're like still kind of like trying to make sense of ourselves, trying to like identify, who am I? What am I in this world? Again, we can go through life cycles, lifestyles. We have the every 7 years is the cycle of what I'm getting ready to go into, the intelligence. And then 11 is consciousness. And then 18 is your vitality. It is your prana, your life force. And so imagining that 11, you've got 2 cycles of consciousness that you go through. before you even hit, by the time you hit 22. 7, you got 3. There's a cluster at 21, 22. And then you just came out of the 18. Like, we're still trying to make sense of ourselves at our younger ages. So the way that we connect with others is like, well, this was my experience, so maybe somebody else has had this experience. Maybe we can talk about these things, and we can find ways to heal it, right? And I was reflecting on this the other day about how there were certain people in my past that were like, I don't want to hear it. And that hurt my heart. That hurt. That was like a, wow, you know? Wow, what kind of person says to someone, could you not tell me about that? I don't want to hear about that. Like, I heard that a couple times from people that I really, really cared about too, by the way. Relationship with guys. With women, it's always different, you know? So I say the things I say because they come from my personal experience. I don't just intellectualize and read. I'm a huge reader, writer, what have you. But this stuff is who I am. So whatever I say, that I write, that it's my essence, it's my being. And that's another thing that I want to bring out in others, is like, I'm not here to fix anyone. I want to inspire in a way that makes your essence come to the forefront, that your being, because your essence is in your presence, which is where your power resides. That you are beautiful, that you are relevant, that you're important to this life. No matter who you are and what you think you were told, or you may have ever thought less of, you have so much to offer the world. So there's a lot of like wisdom in life. And I one of the things that I had to learn for myself was I could read it, but I still needed to apply it. Like, I could still go through how many people go through all these different workshops and stuff, and they're like, oh, I want to be this all of a sudden. And I'm like, where's your integration process? Application and integration. You can't just, oh, I'm going to become a coach after going through this. You can say that, and that's the hard way to learn. But I have been in training for a very long time without forcing myself out into the world, because I just want to do that. Like, if that were the case, I would have been doing a whole lot of things and probably done a whole lot wrong, which is fine too. I'm not, okay, I'm saying this out loud. I'm just speaking and flowing. I'm not judging, but it's just the awareness I had for myself that I had constantly something more. But then I hit that point where I'm like, healing, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, I had to come to that point in my life where even with the addiction programs that I was facilitating, there's something we were talking about in those classes where we're like, even self-help and personal development can become an addiction. How many books do you have on your shelf that are personal development, spiritual wisdom? So I had to check myself and also recognize I don't need fixing. I don't need to be healed. The problem that I encountered in my life was the dismissing, the suppressing of who I genuinely am. That the reigniting, the reclaiming, and also revisiting my inner child, because that's really essentially what it is. Our inner child that was like ready to take on the world. I want to do all the great things. I want to build a tree house, and I want to climb, and I want to travel, and I want to, you know what I mean? Like, put on plays and shows and acting and writing, and I wanted to do it all. I still want to do it all. We should be able to do it all, but not be so hard on ourselves about whether we did it right or that we did it at all. It's really easy to like look at all the times you were told your dreams don't matter, they're too big. That's not realistic. That's not going to bring you money. You can't live on that. I feel that. So you chose the predictable path. and you became an adult. None the wiser, but as life experience teaches, the lesson in that as we get older, that is where the wisdom is really like, wow. I want to say in 2008, when I came back to the States and I did the Date with Destiny with Anthony Robbins. And I was like, wow, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? It always comes back to your inner child. What did you want to do when you were a kid? It's inevitable. Your major life crisis, you know, what is it? Midlife crisis, whatever people call it these days, typically means returning to what was your childhood joy? What was it you really wanted to do? And most of us forgot that we were just an excited child who wanted to do so much more in the world and play and have fun doing it. But then we became, a zoologist. That's so cool. My sister too. She loved animals, and she's got chickens and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, she got the chickens and the cats and the dog, and I get it. It's like, recapture that. This is the period, the time for you to do it too. It's like fresh, like, honestly, I was thinking about doing another vision board group because I thought about it. I'm like, this is like another perfect time for doing a vision board and really like putting together where you want to be now for the next year. Because this is the beauty of vision boards. They can keep changing. I mean, I have a whole section of vision boards over here in my area. And I'm constantly reminded, and every once in a while I'm like, oh yeah, I've done that. Oh, look at me, I'm working on that one right now. You know, and it's powerful because when you set goals and then you achieve them, that's you who did it, nobody else. That's you manifesting your magic. That's you creating with Source Divine, because when you choose, all the heavens open up and said, okay, we're here to support that. But you got to get right up in here. So where I'm going with this is that we have to be willing to step up and be our authentic selves. In order to even get out of the system, you really have to be willing to just say, okay, I gotta like go against what I've always known as authority. Of course, you're gonna have fear. I'm over here going, you know, some of my first questions were, well, am I still gonna be able to collect my veteran stuff, you know? And they're like, yeah, you earned that. You don't have to give any of this stuff up. What it is about securing your securities, because you establish a trust where the trust is the protection. You create layers of protection between between this bullshit system. Because, you know, you got to play the game to some degree. And if you don't learn how to play it well, you're going to be living in hell or creating your own hell. So it's funny because I've also been working on, because I'm an IT, I love IT, but I have also like an aversion about doing a lot of things. And I'm also over here diving back into generative AI and like, wow, this is my jam now. This is what I wanted to be doing. And this is what I've been envisioning forever. Because it's meant to take the mundane. You either evolve or you get left behind. You're already using AI. You're already relying upon it. Our virtual chat box assistants with all these different things. The other day once again, my phone service put on a protection plan that I didn't authorize. And I'm like, how the heck is that happening? So always paying attention to your bills is very important. I immediately contacted him. And actually, it was before the charge went through because I saw the charge coming in. And I'm like, this is some crazy stuff. I'm not you know what, ChatGPT, I haven't really found a way to harness that one just yet. I'm working on it. But the text to image, ooh, that's sweet. That's where I'm working, because I'm working on my logo. And I just created I'll just tell you now, I just created a new Instagram, Queen Bee Alchemy. And I just posted one picture so far. Actually, I was going to post another one. I forgot about it. But anyway, doing my thing. And I posted that picture because I'm like, that's what we're going to start with. Because you got to start somewhere. And in life, you got to start somewhere. And for me, I'm a creatrix. I feel I'm the architect. I am the creatrix of the matrix, because matrix means womb, matriarchy, technically. So we have to like reclaim all of our sovereignty. And the only way you're going to do it is if you lose sight of the shore, as they say. You got to be willing to better yourself. And that's an act of self-love, is putting yourself first and recognizing I am not here to continually defend my limitations or my enslavement. So what I was saying about the AI is so many people are in fear because they're kind of wanting you to be in fear. Because if you get you get proficient in it, then you're going to be like, oh, this is really cool because I can have a virtual assistant at my fingertips. It's all natural language. You don't even have to learn to program. And I never liked programming, but I could, as we call it, reverse engineer any type of programming and then fix it the way I wanted to. So much easier, just saying. So you can get creative with imagery. Then you can edit. You can create all sorts of gorgeous, you can create all sorts of stuff. Why would you be upset about that? And the fact of the matter is that the people that are really the most upset are also the most upset in the work that they're doing already. So if you're a data entry type person, or you're somebody who's like doing something mundane, this is the purpose of AI, to take that off of your hands so you can actually focus on what it is you really desire and what your passion is. But that's a fear point for people too. That's a pain point, because a lot of people are like, I forgot, I don't know. Well, you better start figuring it out now, until it's like a whack on the top of the head. I mean, there's a lot of people already out here going, I ain't waiting until I'm fired. I'm going to take the initiative and figure it out. What's funny is when I look back at Naples and losing my job, it was a blessing in disguise at the time. Although I will tell you, I was not, I wouldn't say it was a blessing at the time. I mean, 2008, being told you're the cause of hate and discontent, and oh my gosh, it blew my mind, and it busted my ego big time, because I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm one of the most professional people here. Just like when I was in the Air Force and I worked at no such agency, and I was always the one who went above and beyond. I would always find things to do. I wouldn't sit and be bored and wait for someone to come give me something to do, because I am here to contribute. I'm here to uplift. When I rise, you rise. That's my belief in this world. And nobody has any need, and I say this for myself, to explain themselves or defend themselves. I was somebody who used to defend myself all the time. Great example, you're already like my mom used to say, you admitted your guilt even when you weren't asked and it wasn't obvious, because that is the inner child and the naivete that comes out, right? Like you walk, oh, I'm so sorry. I hit traffic, or, just a few minutes later, such and such. It's like life. But a lot of those jobs are freeing you up to be present in your own life. And that's an opportunity I don't want to miss. I'm looking, it's going to take some work. Everything does at first, but the more proficient you become, it becomes less of an obstacle to overcome in the future. So just like the invention, how many people out there were like, oh my God, email and smartphones, and look how far we've come. Look how far we've come. And you're going to poo-poo on the AI stuff? I'm just going to remind you, like I used to tell my mom, we live in a world of duality. There are polarities, and there's going to be the good and the bad, the malevolent and the benevolent. Hello, look at what we're dealing with. It's all about intention. Wouldn't it be nice if more people actually did things that aligned with what it was that was their true nature, as opposed to their trauma wounds, because that's really what's happening around us. When you see people behaving from a malevolent place, it's coming from a wound. Bad. Something was inflicted upon them. They don't know any better. They were taught how to inflict because it was inflicted upon them. Good, same thing. And it can be imbalanced on either side. You're like, how many people, and especially us women, I mean, we're taught to always give and be the nurturers and take care of everybody else but ourselves. And then you hit a certain threshold. And that threshold usually throws you down, like, I'm just speaking from personal experience, where you're like, okay, that's enough. I have to survive here, and I've given and given and given. I mean, there's a lot of women out there. I know I'm not alone. You've given so much of your heart, so much of your being, only to be walked over, taken advantage of, disregarded, etc., etc. You can just fill in the blanks. When the truth of the matter is, all you really wanted, I'm speaking for myself, someone else to do what I was doing for them. Tell me that isn't true for somebody out there. Let me know in the comments. What you do for others, it's the golden rule. You really secretly hope, it's not always communicated or articulated, that people would do that for you. So you give them your best and you don't give it to yourself, and then resentment and frustration build up. And the times that I blew up at people, I'm like, it wasn't just that one person. It was for every single time. Because when you don't realize this, but when you get emotional, when you get triggered in a trauma, whatever it is, it might be one person that's the catalyst that brings it out of you. But the reality is, they end up being on the receiving end of every single time in your past that you didn't think of yourself first, that you didn't speak up for yourself. So although they're the catalyst and maybe they needed to hear it, check and see how strongly it came out, where you're like, oh, that was a little harsh. And even when it does come up for you, like when you notice a trigger, because I say, whatever triggers you is your work to do. When you are triggered, what is the first memory that pops up in your mind? Where does it bring you back to? Because it's just that moment that's bringing back the memory of an injustice of your life. Yeah, I'd never do that and then surprise what people do or say. Oh, isn't that that's the best one. I never do that. Professing themselves, aren't they? Speaking from experience. How often people will tell you, I don't do this, is exactly what they're telling you. They're telling you what they do. But again, always choose their actions. Listen, observe, and stop making stories for people that don't deserve your time and energy protecting them, as I spoke in one of my other videos. So let's go to the attachment stuff, because it was triggered by Julia's video, and I think it was because I hear it just like healing. To me, attachment is like so spoken about in the community. Again, this is why I'm bringing this up, because attachment is an expectation. It's your biggest addiction. You have an attachment to your belief systems. Tell me you don't have an attachment to your preferences and what you would like, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, the reality is, we all have attachments, just like we have an ego. The question is whether they're running us or we have control over them. It's easy to say you want to denounce the world of all material possessions, and then also have a big, beautiful house, gorgeous car, a great partner, until you don't have it anymore. And in some cases, and I'm going to use my parents as an example, my dad does this, my sister does this, sometimes I've done it. I've been known to do it because I had to work through it. And I love, love, love them. It's just, you spot it, you got it. And because I used to do it, I'm like, oh, that's so sad. But what I see and what I hear is I have compassion for. When someone puts someone else down for what they have, that's an attempt to bring themselves up, to validate themselves. What that really is saying, I don't feel valuable. I don't feel worthy of that. So it's easier to say, oh, that's so expensive. Ugh, I couldn't imagine. Like, what? You're saying that you don't have the money, nor would you prioritize that. And every once in a while, my dad says something like, Dad, if you don't like it, that's one thing. It's not about the cost of it. And that's a priority for them. There are things that you like, that you prioritize, and you will find the money. Like, we all do it. We're all infamous for this one. Something that might cost you $50, you'll find the money. And it's the same thing in mentorship and coaching. You'll hear people say how I can't afford that. But what they're saying is I don't want to invest in myself. Ooh, that's a I always do coaches and mentors and workshops and everything else. I'm a huge advocate of that. I believe in community. I believe in support. And the thing is that you have to be willing to put the value in to get the value out. That's equal exchange. And nobody should feel less valuable just because someone says, I don't want to pay that. That's not for you to try to go, but no, let them choose, because what they're doing is choosing themselves based on what they believe they are valued at, whether it's higher, lower, or not at all. So life is about establishing and knowing thyself well enough to go, am I valuable enough to do this? Do I want this bad enough? Do I really, really want it? Attachment. You can say you want things all day long, but what are you doing to get them? And most people are addicted, attached to their mundane lives. The things they complain about the most are the things they don't change at all. And I speak from personal experience. If I didn't say it, I probably haven't experienced it yet. Like, I believe in, like, walk your talk and just demonstrate. Like, people will be drawn to you based on the way that you make them feel, by your energy, by your presence, by your ability to communicate what it is they need to hear, feel, what their heart is yearning to experience. So I'm saying all that, but going back to attachment, because that's the thing. How attached are we to the things that aren't serving us? And are we able to really detach? And I've just expressed, I have a hard time saying yes to that. Because you show me someone who doesn't have something that they're attached to. I mean, we are humans in a flesh suit. You got to have breath. You're attached to the breath, you know, the air that you breathe. You're attached to the water you got to drink and the food that you got to eat. Show me a person who doesn't do any of that, then you can say there's no such thing as attachment. I really, truly believe, and this is really sad, is that it's another one of those deceptions, those, you know, games that it was thrown in there. Oh, you should seek. I mean, I get non-attachment. But to say that you can just swear off the material stuff, why do you think we're here? For the experiences that we have. We're not here to, like, play small, which we all have been doing to some degree. And I'm speaking for myself. Like, okay, why haven't I done this? Well, perfectionism, you know, like, that's one of my things. Fear of being dropped. I have a whole lot of, like, I know my stuff. I know myself. But I also know that I got to put myself out there too. And that the only way things change is when I change. Just like when I started going to the gym. And tonight, one of the guys was saying to me, Lana, you look really strong. I said, thank you. It's taken a while, but I'm feeling stronger. Like not this week specifically, but I'm definitely, been on my A game. And it feels good. Because there's the thing about exercise, just like anything. You want the reward to come from within. You don't need validation and other people cheering you on. That's really nice. But the inner appreciation, the happy hormones, the looking in the mirror and going, I did that. See how much I love my temple? I did that. It's like the biggest compliment you can ever get is acknowledging and giving yourself the pat on the back. I did that. I pushed through. I was determined. I was dedicated, devoted enough to keep going when I wanted to quit. I'm an all or nothing type of person, so I go in with it all. And sometimes maybe I let up a little bit, but I'm like start to finish. I am not here to play small. I have a bigger purpose. I want to bring people together and take them on beautiful experiences, retreats. Like, I know what I have to offer. I don't have to explain it. I don't have to profess it, because people show up to me and tell me. And that warms my heart. But at the same time, I have my hangups too. I'm human. So the reason I talk about this attachment is I really feel like it was another one of those, let's find another way to make people feel ashamed. You like that. You eat that way. See all these labels that people are subscribing to in the food community, in the fashion industry, in the lifestyle, the wellness, all of it. Stop looking at people and thinking, ugh, because that's a reflection of you. And I'm not saying this for anybody out there. I'm just saying that when we judge, we don't even realize what we're doing is comparing ourselves. So we see somebody who has something we want. You're either the person who is like, listen, girlfriend, you got it going on. I'm going to tell you. I'm your biggest cheerleader. Or the person who's like, she probably had to do such and such to get that. Seriously? This is part of the indoctrination stuff too. Like this is a thing I've never understood, and it's always annoyed the crap out of me. You see someone doing well, stop making stories around why. You don't know their story. Stop making up stuff to make yourself feel better about you, and recognize if she can do it, I can do it too. I don't know how she did it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But she's demonstrating to me my own capacity and capability. You are an able-bodied person. That's when you know you've matured. When you're not doing the tit for tat or the gossip shit. The stuff that puts people down. Like if you can't raise the person up. Like, I talk with my girlfriends and some of my friends, and we have conversations around, so-and-so and this and that. But it's an observation. We're not there to tear the person apart. We're not there to put them down. We observe where they're at. And in a lot of cases with my goddesses, it's like some girlfriends are closer to others than some of us are. Like I had to actually separate myself from a few because of the lack of reciprocity with me, where I gave of myself so much. And when I needed something, I was discarded and not even considered. And that happened with a few people, and I was like, wow, that's some fucked up shit. But it happens. It happens. It's lonely out here. Not, I don't feel alone, but it shows me how important it is to vet my circle, to be very selective of who I allow in my space, because that's sacredness. That's self-love. It's also love when you say, I don't resonate with you. Love for you. And it's so kind and loving to do, then to turn around and smile and talk shit behind their back too. Like, I would rather not associate with somebody who makes me feel like crap than try to, I'm over that stuff. I did that enough in my life. especially in the spiritual community, which I didn't realize I had a lot of haters and I didn't even know it. And especially in the past 3 years, boy, did they come out of the woodwork, right? Oh, you're polarizing. Am I? I'm just being me. I didn't do anything to polarize anybody. That sounds like a projection to me. I've been projected upon quite a bit. But I'm a generator. And I still keep coming back. Battery on fire. So here's what I wrote. I got some good stuff in here. I actually sent a voice message to someone earlier today, and I was just, I was like, oh man, I need to write some of that down because it was good. I do that a lot. I channel. It just comes through, and I'm like, oh, I'm better at catching it now than I was before. But when you channel, a lot of times it's hard to keep it. Yeah. Anyway, so we're all channels, by the way, all of us. We all receive guidance, divine wisdom. It's just whether or not we're acknowledging it and owning it. That's a part of you because you are a divine, sacred being. All right, so can we ever really truly detached? I already told you. There's just no way. First off, most people, they got a belief system. They got a bunch of stories. They got a past and how they saw it. Those are all attachments too. Like the way you tell your past, your story and everything else, that's an attachment. Like talk about like, nope, not working, not working. Are you human? Then you're not able to detach until you pass over. And in some cases, have you heard? The people still wander around in spirit because they're so attached to their body, they don't want to leave. That's some crazy ass crap. I can get comical about this all day long. I tell you right now, if you were here, we'd be having these conversations all night because I am that person. I really enjoy deep conversations, and there are times I get into my little, down that other rabbit hole stuff. And I don't know how many of you follow Robert Phoenix. I really enjoy listening to him because at least he's paying attention to stuff and he's good. I had my last astrology reading with him. So, and I was just watching 𝐔𝐿𝐻 on Serious Joy and his last one. So when you get a chance, that's why I was running late because I was listening to his. Go listen to his YouTube because it's really good tonight, especially because of the cancer and all the stuff coming up. He's saying everything that I've been saying. And this is the beauty is like when I don't need astrology. It just validates what I divinely feel and sense. Astrology to me, again, is like the weather. So people say all the time, how about, oh, okay, so many people are talking about attachment. Oh, you're not supposed to be attached. But we're in this world of duality and polarity. It's like, hello, it's a push-pull. It's a push-pull. Oh, she's a Cancer. Wait, that is Cancer symbol, right? See how well I know him? This is what I'm talking about. I've been following astrology since I was a kid. Back when you used to have those little scrolls, like to me, that was a big deal. I don't remember how much those cost, but they were expensive according to my mom. So we can't just detach from this reality. That's an attachment in itself. Are you in this reality? I mean, that's some crazy stuff. Tell me about attachment. Like, this was my mind today. On my way to my neuromuscular therapist, I was doing a voice message to someone, and just all this stuff poured out because I was like, boy, when people talk about attachment, it's the same shame game. Yeah, right? I know, August 1st. Attachment is the same shame game as not being worthy. And we're all trying to prove ourselves, right? So we're living in a world where everybody's trying to prove themselves worthy of love and appreciation, and here's my value, and you should do this to me. And it's like, whoa, did you earn it? Are you behaving that way? Are you doing it for yourself first? Because it's so easy for people to demand, I demand you treat me this way. Well, how are you treating yourself? Would we happy Earth birthday, Valley? Where you at? When's your birthday? Put your birthdays down in the comments. I want to know. Especially if your birthday's coming up. Happy birthday, Earth Day. I don't even, we got to Celebrate your aliveness, your sparkle, happy sparkle, right? And like allow yourself to be seen as the beautiful being. I love to say be, just be, just be. That's going to be, that dropped in today. So anyway, it was just comical to me. I said, are we really truly meant to detach from everything? I mean, because I've got a Libra rising, because of course I'm over here doing this. I'm like, let me weigh this out. And you see the lioness goddess with all her hair and stuff, right? You see the Leo. And you may think that's me, but that's just the presentation, because I'm about balance. That's what I came into this world to do, is to balance and to show you what is possible. Oh, Valley 7-Eleven. Oh, happy belated birthday, life. And Shakti's coming up on the 20th. Woohoo! I love it. I love it. Celebrate you. Do your flips too and dance it out. Dance, dance, dance. So, what if it's all a big part of the distraction to be anything but what we are? Just like healing. Healing is just not wholeness. And I follow Understanding on YouTube too, and just a beautiful soul. I've been following him for a while, 7. And this whole idea around seeking to fix the world. Like, this is something I've sat with. Like, it's so easy to say what's wrong in the world, but the only reason you see that, what is wrong, is because that's what you don't see that's wrong with you. It's projection. So whatever isn't right in your mind is often what appears to you most in your reality. How crazy is that? You spot it, you got it. So if you're saying, oh, I don't like this about that person, why does that stand out about that person? Is that the aspect you dislike about yourself the most? Because if you didn't see it, it wouldn't exist in your mind as a problem if it wasn't something in your own self. That's a humble pie that every once in a while you got to kind of go, let me take a bite of that. My truth. I got to speak my truth. Be myself. But if we were more authentic, and the world would be a different place. Instead of all these masks and these shows that we put on trying to prove ourselves worthy. You know, adopting what we see then rather than just, you know, being who we are. So really all we want is to be authentically loved for who we are. So what we want to be is aligned authentically in our integrity. It's not about trying to prove ourselves to anyone, nor do we have to perfect ourselves. Hey, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm just saying. I don't want to put it out there until it's perfect. Although I do know there is timing for everything. I'm learning. I'm growing up. I'm still gonna be all my inner child play too, though. I can't be all business. Ugh. That's why I left a lot of those environments. Yeah, we need a t-shirt. I'm working on that one too. Just be. I got I've had t-shirt ideas since I was a kid. Some really good ones too, like X marks the spot. Show me your spot, I'll show you mine. I mean, silly things, but anyway, I don't really care there. Just like, okay, so this is what I was saying, in the healing community, so many are trying to fix themselves, which implies the illusion of being broken, and we're not. We're just not whole because we have suppressed and we've dismissed the aspects of ourselves that we need the most. The things we shun ourselves on are the things that were shunned in us from our families, our upbringing, our peer groups. The things that people didn't accept about us are the things we need to reclaim the most. Because we didn't accept them because people around us didn't accept them. Think about how many of us are like, the reason we don't actually feel whole is because we kept on, you know, breaking off the pieces that other people didn't like. We felt broken after a breakup. You know, well, they didn't like this about me. Okay, well, then I'm going to stop being that. Sit with that one for a second. Like, how many of us, because of a relationship, we stopped doing the things we loved because it bothered the other person. But that was what they loved about us the most. Happens a lot. Don't ever change, but be willing to communicate. The changes that we often make are just to be accepted, and that usually becomes a compromise to our authenticity and our integrity. So we have to be really attentive to how aligned we are in what we're doing. Is it really true for us? Because the discomfort is showing you when you're dissing yourself. Gosh, I've done that a lot. But we're not broken. So we have to stop thinking we have to fix ourselves or chasing the next thing that will make everything all right. The reality is just slowing down. That was my biggest lesson over the years. Slow down. I was a runner, physically and mentally. Yeah, there's a reason I used to run marathons too, right? So think about the things that manifest in your physical life, in your actual reality. They speak mountains to everything that's going on in your psyche. Whether or not you're paying attention and willing to listen. It took me a while to slow down. It took physical. Again, like I said, my biggest teacher has been my body. Physical crisis. Okay, check. Not just once. I got a few things there. So it's, if anything, we're just fragmented, and we really just need to reclaim all those aspects. Teal Swan calls it parts work, because there's so many. I mean, come on, we're multifaceted. We have so many different characters. We're not schizophrenic. We are just eclectic, right? So why should we have to subscribe to being a certain way all the time? If anything, that's what makes us so beautiful, is our ability to adapt to situations and be at our best if we allow it. Just saying. So what are we truly striving for? So many look at the outside world and assume that it's not them, but in reality, we all contribute to the whole. So like I said earlier, when you point something out, oh, that's wrong in the world, that's bad, you're also contributing to that. And what stands out to you is what you're unwilling to face within. What stands out to you is what you're unwilling to face within. Say that 3 times fast. Anyway, yeah, that was a big one. And I was like, because to me, I had this great mushroom trip a couple of years back. I think it was 2.5 years ago. No, it was coming up on 3 years. I tell you what, and I made a video about it. I was like, this is all a collective collaboration. So if you don't take action on something, the collective consciousness sends it around to whoever will. And I know this because how many times, and tell me if I'm alone on this one, how many times have you come up with a great idea and you didn't act on it? And then you see someone else doing exactly what you were thinking of, like, what the hell? How the heck is that possible? It's the way the universe points out. Remember what you had that great idea about? It's not to say you can't still do it, but it's the universe just pointing out, you're capable. Don't get jealous. Don't get upset. When you passed on that opportunity, doesn't mean it's gone. And you see someone else doing it. That's the universe saying, because you didn't do it, we gave it to someone else. There's a clue. I see it all the time. I got way too many ideas. So we are contributing to everything we see. Like I said, this is a collective collaboration. Like, what you think is not unique to you. It's discerning what is meant for you, though. Because sometimes you're like, wow, where did that thought come from? And the reality is all of these thoughts that are circulating in the collective. You know, sometimes you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? That's not mine. You got to be discerning on that. Sometimes it's not your mind. But it shows you how we're all swimming in the collective mind at all times. So some of your thoughts are up there and someone else is picking up on your thoughts. That's energy, baby. That's some cool stuff to think about. Like we are swimming in the pool of all this mental chatter. How conscious and aware are you that it isn't going out and someone else is catching it? So much that's a whole nother direction of conversation, but I'm just saying, attachment. Notice even the thoughts, because we are all attached to our thoughts and our beliefs and our stories and our patterns and our past, and maybe your favorite bra or your favorite pair of underwear or something silly like that. Like, you know, we all have preference. We all have desires. But don't be shunning your desires because you don't think you can have them, or looking at someone else who has them and go, you know, like, the problem I see in the world is when we are judging others, we are judging ourselves. So when we get upset or jealous or envious, that's poison inflicted upon ourselves. And yes, you need to catch yourself. I do it from time to time where I'm like, celebrate, train yourself that when you see someone doing well, especially someone that inspires you, or maybe even like you're jealous of, like maybe you follow somebody. I mean, people do it all the time. Follow somebody because they want to see them fail. That's some fucked up shit. But I know I experienced that. When you're in social media, there's a lot of that. And when I was with Ridiculously Authentic with my ex-partner, I know a lot of people followed because of his behavior to see what he was going to do. Because he was like, you know, a firecracker. You didn't know what the heck was going to happen with him. So just recognize, like, when something comes up and you catch yourself thinking ill will against them or something that isn't uplifting, it's like, wow, I just caught myself thinking that I couldn't do that. If anything, I want to celebrate that person and make a point to it. It could be something so simple as going, oh, I'm going to just dance and joy for that person because that brings more for you. It's a form of gratitude and appreciation. The more we celebrate others, the more it also is bringing in that energy of gratitude. Celebration and gratitude go hand in hand. So we don't, and then here's the other thing about things. When we observe other people, it's one thing to observe them. I do this. And of course I do this. You're listening to me here. Generalizing about people doing things. We have to check ourselves, because when we're doing that, and I say this from like, oh, am I doing this? I am doing this. When we generalize and say people doing or not doing certain things, it's like, ooh, is that to uplift myself? Like I was just saying, a lot of times I see and observe it with my dad and my sister, and I'm like, wow, I've done that too in the past, where the only way you think you can bring yourself up is by putting someone else down. When in reality, I want to rise and bring others up with me. That's a whole like paradigm shift in itself because of the world we live in, where it's the haves and the have-nots, and you know, all these old sayings that that you've probably heard all your life, and I don't need to say them. But the idea that somebody has something you want and you don't have it doesn't mean you're less of a person, and it doesn't mean that you won't get it or that you don't deserve it. But you gotta, like, in yourself know you deserve it, because if you're putting someone else down, that's saying you don't think you deserve it. Because if you felt you deserved it, you'd be celebrating them as opposed to trying to bring them down. Because when someone is in their comfort zone, in that muddy spot of, I can't celebrate someone else because you are trying to bring others down to your space. You're like, look at me. Oh, woe is me. That's victimhood. Nobody wants to be down there. We've all been there. We've all done something of that nature. We just need to catch ourselves if we fall into that pattern. We're not here to, and then the other thing, I was talking to my friend at the gym tonight. It's like, I said, I learned long ago, I always had a very strong connection to spirit, to God, to source. You know, I went out in nature and I'd had conversations. To me, that was always precious and private. And I realized why. Because To me, that's my intimate connection. I don't need to explain it, share it, or compare it with anybody else's. Whether you're religious or not, whatever it is you choose, that is intimate for you. That is an intimate relationship. And in a lot of ways for me over the years, I was like, I just didn't talk about it. And then I think I was living in Italy the first few times. Like my mom, she was sharing with me and the blue sky and clouds, right? My mom was on the phone with me and it brought me to tears because she had sworn off religion because of how she felt forsaken. Like, why did God let those things happen to me? I get it. And she says to me on the phone, she goes, I didn't know. She said, I just didn't know that God loved me and that it wasn't me. And there, she had not spoken about God in so long in that way, that particular conversation and more of what she said, I was crying because I'm like, he was just waiting for you to ask, Mom. It's always been there. I say he, but I mean, a lot of times that's how people relate it, but at the same time, it's the bigger, the energy, it's your higher self. I mean, ultimately, we all come from the same source, so it's our higher self. We think we're hearing, like I hear all these different channels of this one and that one, and they're all just descriptors. But in reality, we're all channels. Why do we have to put a name on what it is or who it is we think we're hearing? As long as you understand it isn't something demonic and something isn't trying to, because I always get a little concerned when I hear people talk about channeling and I'm like, are you 100% certain? You have to understand, is this coming from a benevolent source? Like a lot of times people are so desperate to have this thing that brings them significance. There's a lot of people who don't talk about what they channel. And then there's other people like trying to like grasp for seams for some form of attention. Like, look at me, I channel this or that. And again, this is whether you're healed or not. There's some channelers, they're day and night. You can tell by the wisdom. And then all over here, the individual is totally different. But we don't have to confess our sins to other people. Like that was the communication I would have in the field. I know what I've done. I don't need to go out and profess to anybody else or prove myself this is the problem in our society. It's like, because everything is documented and you got video and you got this, that, and the other. Somebody says one thing that offends somebody and their entire life is destroyed, like as if they can never change because of that one thing. As opposed to somebody who's a career politician who's proven they have always been that way. I'm just saying. These are the things that are like, wow. Did we forget we are not each other's judge and jury? Because we're not. We're not. We're not here to tell anybody what to do, how to behave, how to be, even if it is totally against everything we feel in our being. It's not our place. It's interesting. It's quite the paradox of this life. Because on the one hand, all the religions will tell you that God's the final judge, but yet every single human is out there as if they're the judge and jury, and they all have an opinion. Like, we all got a-holes. And especially in this day and age, it's like everybody thinks they got to talk about what they believe, or, sometimes it's sacred just not saying a word. Keep yourself more mysterious. I got to work on that one. Seriously, I got to work on that one. Because that's the truth, is we really do want to be authentic, mysterious, and connected. We all want to be connected to someone or something. Because that's what attachment in this life looks like, is the ability to connect with one another. That could be the simplest thing. I'm not talking about dependency or codependency. I'm talking about interdependency, because in reality, we don't want to be codependent or dependent upon anybody else. That's for us to do with ourselves. We want to be interdependent, which means we have this beautiful divine dance where we help and we serve and we support one another. And that is being present. Your essence is in your presence. That is your gift. That is your power. We have to be careful about how we project ourselves on others too. I mean, because attachment and the devaluing of what another person wants, that doesn't reflect great on us. Time, love, and tenderness. Try to be mindful to give it to others. Try to be mindful to give it to yourself first. If you can't give it to yourself, it's very hard to give it to others authentically. Because what's funny is a lot of people do that, and they actually pour from an empty cup. So they're so quick to say that, oh, I'm this and I'm that, because they're trying to prove themselves, but yet they're not actually doing for themselves what it is they're doing for others. And that's what I was just saying about in the very beginning about so many of us women, we hit a breaking point where we recognize, wow, I've given and given and given and I'm feeling depleted. I can't do that anymore. We're here to uplift one another, not put others down to elevate or validate ourselves. But that's doing the personal work. That's the acknowledging when you're tender, when your heart needs affection, when you need to tap into your inner child. Like, what do I need? You know, earlier, before I even did this video, I was like, wow, I was feeling a stuckness in my throat. I was like, wow, what's this all about? And I'm like, okay, tell me. And I went and I took a shower and I cleansed myself and I just kind of let it run through. But here's the thing, and this is something I've talked about too, forgiveness. You learn that you've been forgiven. There's nothing to forgive. It was the attachment, the expectations that led to something being wrong that needed to be forgiven. It's the acknowledging the attachment in ourselves, because there's nothing to forgive if there's no attachment to something. So although I'm saying that we can't technically be detached in the sense that what all these so-called, you know, people, spiritual, whatever, people talk about being detached, it's like, this is a paradox, because we are supposed to be aware and maintaining what we are attached to, because we all have attachments. And the maturity is acknowledging, I have an attachment. I have a preference for, you know, I like really fine dining. I like really beautiful hotels. I like to travel in style. I like to get dressed up to the nines, you know, those kinds of things. If that's part of your lifestyle, as long as it doesn't rule you and it's not harming anyone, there's nothing wrong with it. But again, I was saying that some of the shame around, oh, that's too much, and it's not the shame for the person who has it. It's really the shame of the person who's judging it. That if people have something and they're like, oh, detach from attachments, it really goes back to the person who claims to swear off the attachments or the materialism or whatever it is. You got to sit there and go, okay, if you're saying you're not attached, what are you attached to? This is the check and balance. This is the professing of the truth, right? We don't realize there's more being said than what isn't being said. You may hear someone say, oh, I don't like this and I don't have material. I had everything and now I'm fine with where I'm at. Are you really? Because when it comes down to the truth with being truthful with yourself, we all have something that we desire. And the question of, like, what is the first thing you're going to choose? Are you going to choose something that's comfortable? Or are you going to do something that's not so comfortable? So of course, we're in that time of history where there's a lot of discomfort, like doing something that doesn't, you know, like, oh my gosh, I need to have things this certain way. Those are going to show the addictions too. Because again, I'm going back to attachment to your expectations and to your belief systems are biggest addictions. Our biggest addictions is up in here. You could swear off all the material all you want, but you're still stuck up in here. And guess what? No matter where you go, there you are. So you spot it, you got it. When you got a finger pointing out and you're blaming or shaming other people, you got those three ricocheting back at you. So again, remembering that the more you can rise, like you see someone doing well, celebrate them, because that's you too. Yeah, there you go. Routines. That's a big one. Habits, routines, lifestyle. You know, lately I have to admit I have been up late nights and waking up later. I don't like that. I have to shift my routines because I am a night owl, but I also like to be up with the sun. And it's hard to sleep in my room because when the sun starts coming up, that's the first thing that I'm going, okay, I guess the sun's, and I'm like covering the, you know, putting the blanket so that it's so funny how we struggle and create our own little game. I'm just saying that's what it is for me. It's like a little game. It's like, how maybe I put the covers a certain way and the light won't wake me up, but I've already been woken up. It's like my eyes might be crusty, but I've been woken up. And usually I'm really good about remembering my dreams. I don't know about anybody else. They've been off the charts as always. But lately I'm not remembering my dreams as vividly as I normally do. And that bothers me. That bothers me a lot. I like feel it. I have a sense of it. But something's interfering. Something's interfering. I'm just saying. So we all want to fix the world. But guess what? We're not here to save it. If we were to save ourselves, work on ourselves first, like reclaim ourselves, be in our wholeness, the world would be a completely different place. But because everybody's all in the outward and people are afraid to go within, they don't realize they're going without, just saying. Yeah. We can't save anyone else, especially people who are not willing to do the work or that they're not stepping up to do the work. Like you have to like acknowledge that's part of discernment. That's part of the wisdom of not trying to fix everybody else, because that, the fixer is a martyr. The fixer is the person that says, I can help you, but I don't know how to help myself. When you go without, you're the one who struggles the most. You can try to fix all the people around you, but all that is about is really just making you feel better about yourself. Giving yourself significance. Also trying to control your environment so that if you're trying to fix or help someone around you, that typically means that you're not loving them authentically and accepting them as they are, which is, that feels icky. We've all been there, done that. I recognized this the first time I did the Beyond Addiction program with my dad. I was like, holy crap, you know, I had gone through all this food changing and I'm like, Dad, you should do this and you should do that. And then I caught myself and I was like, but he's not ready to do that. He'll do what he wants to do when he's ready. Like, I'm not loving him as he is if I'm trying to fix or change things in his behavior. And people feel that. Like when you're trying to fix someone, they get resentful. Do you ever notice? They get angry. They feel like, what's wrong with me? Like you're acting like something, I can't do anything right. Everything that we want others to accept in ourselves, we inflict upon others. Ooh, that's a humble pie. Well, let me help you with this. You should do this. Where in your life are you not doing that? Ooh, that's a big check-in. So again, and the other thing is this, it's like at the end of our life, how many times have you heard they've asked people when they're on their deathbed, what are your regrets or what did you love and like all the stuff, right? Did you love fully is always going to be the question. Because on their deathbeds, I've heard this enough times. I wish, these are the regrets, I wish I had told those people that I loved, I love you more often. I wish I had spent more time with the people I loved rather than working my ass off. Those are the two biggest regrets. Time is precious, and so are you. So you need to value yourself so others will value you too. Yeah. It all comes from within. Stop going without. I mean, really. It's all in the languaging. I can't make this stuff up. I mean, I channeled it in years ago. I'm like, oh my God. Hi, one good fur boy. You scrolled into my stream. That's fantastic. We're talking about attachment. We're talking about attachment. And really, whatever isn't right in your mind is what'll most often appear in your reality. Because where attention goes, energy flows. And if you don't get right in your mind, nothing around you is going to get right. Shift happens when you choose it. Like, you can say you're detached from things, but we all got our shit. We all got something. We are like, it's up to us to own our ish, or it will own us. So it's the management of your attachments. That's essentially what I'm getting down to here. It's the way that we mature. You know you're mature when your attachments, your addictions, your belief systems, all this stuff, whether it's material or what have you, because there are people that their world revolves around certain material items. And you know it because you can see it. It's addiction. So it's the management of your attachments, of whether or not they really become addictions that manage and basically run your life. There's nothing wrong with having attachments, is what I'm trying to say. In summary, it's whether they're a promoting or a demoting. Polarizing. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it the good witch or the bad witch? Which is it? Right? Playful. It's Friday. And attachment styles. Like, you got to look at those too. We're not going to talk about all that stuff. I think this was a lot. I think this is one of my... I always say that. This was a really good stream. Let's just say that. And really, I highly encourage, if you're here in the US, check out the Freedom People, the affiliate link that I put in my description. I'll put it in the comments too. Basically, just schedule a free consultation and ask the questions you have. Like, the biggest fears are the things you should be asking. Like, what's this going to mean? Oh, I don't have to pay taxes anymore? Oh, sign me up. What else do I need to know? You know what I mean? Like, how much is this going to cost? Don't be sticker shock. It's going to save you. So the investment, and I'm not telling you you have to do it. You know, there's different ways you can do things, right? I'm doing it for me because to me it's an investment to getting out of a system that has been basically sucking off of my energy. That's what this is about. It's reclaiming your energy. Because we are traded on the stock market. We are the chattel. We are the commodity, human resources. Think about that. We are the resources. They don't need to mine the fields for more, you know, minerals and stuff. They're basically mining us. That's some messed up stuff. So yeah, the Freedom People are amazing. I'm working with Brandon. He's a sweetheart. When you get right in your mind, you just realize it just makes sense to get right in your life. Cracking the Code is another good book if you want to start reading about it. Yeah, oh my gosh. Oh, I'm telling you. What's his name? Jordan Maxwell. Some of his videos. I love listening to that kind of stuff. But I also don't want to be too obsessive about it, because you get to a certain point when you, just like here on YouTube, you can get sucked into all the information and then you don't go apply it you don't apply it and integrate it into your life. Yeah, it's about, the corporate law, maritime law, and common law. Like, write a list of all your questions, because I had a huge list as well, and I ended up having a second call because of it. I was like, okay, I got more questions. And that's a good thing. It should bring up more questions. When they send you a video and you watch the video, but you can select your time, and all of, like, they're just beautiful people because they've consolidated it and made the steps in the process easier. And to have some, you know, someone else do the white glove process for you, that's a lot of documentation. I'm not saying you don't have to learn. You have to learn. You have to learn the natural law. That's what it is. It's based on natural law. You are a sovereign being. But right now, we're all lost out at sea. We're all dead. We're debtors. Debt, dead, debtors. That's crazy. I mean, that's just a whole... I'm grateful that I started that process, because I feel like that's a process that was way overdue. And if anybody's curious, I will continue to talk about it, and I will just provide my link. And as you decide to do it yourself, it's the most empowering thing you can do right now. Take back your power. You get to create your own trust. Like, you can come up with your own trust name. Like, mine is in Latin for Queen Bee Alchemy. So Apis, it's Regina Apis Alchemiae Express Trust. Yeah. The Justinian Deception is also a good read. I have heard of that. I have to get that one. I'll have to put that on my list. Thank you for that recommendation, Valley. So yeah, it really comes down to doing it for you, and that's really an act of self-love. I can't speak highly enough on it, and why it's taken me this long. It's my birthday present to myself coming up. All right, I think we've reached the pinnacle. I'm wide awake, but I think I need to get some rest as well. It's been a very, very busy week. I've spent a lot of time sitting. And also, you know, just notice what's coming up. Like, this past week this is not for the faint at heart. I mean, the stuff that's being churned up in us right now, we got Cancer, new moon on Monday, like, great opportunity, fresh new starts. If you're interested in doing, maybe we do a Zoom thing with the, thank you, Pamela, like a vision board thing. I'm playing with it. I have to, this is me putting myself out there. I'm just saying, if it's of an interest, I will put it together, because I'm going to be doing more stuff with Zoom and groups and women. The Queen Beehive, where women come to reclaim their nectar. Just be. Anyway, that's just a little snippet. So, I love you from the bottom of my heart. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. I hope that, I got a little humor here, made you chuckle, inspired you. Maybe it even makes you curious enough to do something for yourself. That's what I'm here to do, is just embody and demonstrate from where I've lived. I only live and be. So, and that's what we all do. So much love from my heart. Be the best be the best you can be. Just be. Love you.